Welcome Lund loyalists to John Lund Unleashed. Those watching on YouTube, on the John Lund Unleashed and Bay Area Sports Collective channels. Viewers on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and Lundos listening to the podcast on Apple and Spotify. John Lund Unleashed, brought to you by 𝐟𝐸𝐵L Sports Medicine. Got pain? Check out our revolutionary stem cell treatments. And guys, if low T is bringing you down, 𝐟𝐸𝐵L Sports Medicine can put you back in the game. Now all juiced up and ready to go, here's John.
I didn't even realize I was on the screen there. Thank you. Joining us, it is a Hump Day Wednesday edition of the show, and to say that we are packed today is a massive understatement. I actually remembered to hit Instagram on time today, so I can say good morning to those on Instagram, on X, at John Lund Radio. Good to see you this morning, because I can see you after all. Thanks for joining us on YouTube, John Lund Unleashed. Please subscribe to the channel, tell all your friends and enemies. That would be outstanding so we can grow the community, which is also what a like does. A thumbs up tells the algorithm we're not half bad. So make sure you do that. Keep those alerts on. We send stuff all throughout the day. The Bay Area Sports Collective, which is the big B that you see in the corner there. Opposite John Lund Unleashed, that logo is the Bay Area Sports Collective. That means me. The Tom Tolbert Show means Polymac and Creative Tony, which is Polymax Particles. Wednesday, that means they're going to do a night flight tonight, so they do a nighttime show. It means Amy G now, of course, the great Amy G, who's doing a great podcast on women in sports media that you need to check out as well. And it means Jeremy Affeldt of the Giants, who as a pitcher is probably none too happy because Landon Roop pitched great again. That's what Landon Roop has done in May, and I'll give you the one highlight of the game for the Giants, and it involved Heliot Ramos, and nothing against him, but he had a couple other opportunities to knock in some runs. He doesn't. Camilo Doval could have given the Giants a big-time lift because, as I've told you before, 4 is the magic number. I feel like I'm on some ABC after-school show. 4 is the magic number, but it is the magic number for the Giants. But last night, they score 2. You're holding your breath. You're hoping they can win a game, a low-scoring game, give the team a boost, and they continue to fall because the offense can't get it done. And in last night's case, rare occasion that the best bullpen in baseball can't get it done with Camilo Doval. And he's always a roller coaster ride, even when he gets it done. But last night he could not. So hopefully he doesn't start into a funk because Ryan Walker's already in a funk. And the best thing about the Giants is the bullpen. So obviously you don't want that going sideways. So good morning, everyone, on a Wednesday edition of the show. I appreciate you hanging out. Quick news. So we'll do the show. It is 9:08 of the a.m. Pacific. If you're watching live, you're watching later, no worries. But I am on with Damon Bruce and the Damon Bruce Experience on the Palouse at 11 a.m. So if you would tune into Damon's show, that would be tremendous. He and I will chop up a lot of different things at 11 o'clock on his channel. So please, and I'll stream it on my channel as well. So you can just hang right here and chill out here as well. Whichever you like is just fine. Thank you very much. But we'll do that at 11 Pacific. So do, I don't know, however long this takes, and then maybe take a 10-minute break, get a little bit of water, and go from there. But anyway, it is great to have you in. Before we say roll call today, we always look at the chalkboard first to start the show. Episode 157, Doval blows it. Offense is offensive again. When Bryce, that's the big story today. You'll hear from Buster Posey on Bryce before the season started and what he said yesterday. Huff explained. Now you're like, Bryce Huff, dude, you've done so much Bryce Huff. Please don't Bryce Huff. No. You're not one of those 49ers guys that just makes stuff up to have a story. Vic Fangio spoke yesterday at Eagles OTAs and had an explanation on why he thought Bryce Huff didn't fit with the Eagles. He's the defensive coordinator. He might know. You might know him from the 49ers, of course. And he brought up something I did not know, and I have not heard any of the 49ers aggregators bring it up, although they'll act like, because there's some like this, that they knew it the whole time, even though they didn't know it. I don't mean to get into those kind of wars, fights, whatever. I really don't care. But I haven't heard this. And Vic Fangio talked about it, and it's one of the reasons why. It was the reason why it didn't work out in Philadelphia. So I'll play that for you. BA weirdness. We'll get into that at some point. We have a philosophy, and I've heard lots of people say it, and they say it in different ways, different phrases. My favorite is talent versus tolerance. At some point, your talent isn't good enough, and the team will no longer tolerate you. BA's not at that point because of salary or because of money, but he better, when he gets back play his ass off because he's becoming a pain in the ass. We'll explain. Pod's next career. My goodness, man. This is why beyond the physical play on the court, I'm sure when the Warriors talked to Brandon Podziemski about basketball and he spit out things like you're going to hear when he was on the 𝐾𝐨𝐬𝐫𝐢s podcast, it's impressive when you can sit down with a guy and they can be really good on the board and know the game. That's the kind of players you want. So one of the reasons why Pods was drafted where he was drafted, he's like, who's this guy at Santa Clara with the weird hair, Sideshow Bob? You'll see why. Kevin Durant, I did a short on him yesterday, and I got some thoughts on that. Oh, Tibbs, Tom Thibodeau gets fired by the Knicks. I don't know why anybody's surprised by that. There's a Doris Burke story out. Stephen A's taking over the world. I'll explain. Random things happen throughout the show. If you're new around here or watching on another platform and you just fell into the John Lund experience and the John Lund Show and John Lund Unleashed, and you're like, what the hell's that, bro? You'll see. Just stay around. And remember, yesterday I was talking about the at the end there, Caboose pistol, the sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistol, which ends every John Lund Unleashed. So, remember yesterday we were talking about the flight attendant. I was trying to think of the word. You don't call them stewardesses. The flight attendant that was on the San Francisco to London flight. I guess the news stories were just late a day. And I do have one. And I just think it's tremendous when news anchors have to read stuff like this because it's uncomfortable for them. So that's my favorite part is, yeah, I can give you the story and it can be funny. And I know how to tell a story and all those kind of things. But it's just much funnier when news anchors have to tell these kind of stories about a naked flight attendant that's all coked up. And anyway, you'll get that to end the show. So anyway, good morning to everybody. Let me say good morning to everyone. And then we'll get things going. John Joseph. Naomi is here, Catalina. And I did get was it a private message? I am working on that. I don't block anybody ever. Like we weed the people out. You guys do it. And so I haven't blocked anybody. And Mark is great. And for some reason he's not showing up here, but I know that happened to Rock a New Era. So I've got my team, believe me, it's not a very big team, on it because I'm like, can you guys fix this, please? Great guy. And I'm trying to get it fixed. Dom, good morning. The 1-420, John Joseph. Awesome. Oh, by the way, Dom, Skills, I've got your dream and free of charge, of course. We'll get that up there. JJ Raider. Let's see. Did eye drops again today. You'd think I would learn. Taylor is here this morning. Joy, it's not a show without joy. You know that. Kenny, it's good morning to you. Good morning. What do you got there? You got an idea? I got an idea. Let's bring back 10-cent beer night in Major League Baseball. Rogers versus. Can you imagine being at 10-cent beer night in 1974? That would be amazing. What is that with today's in today's economy? What would 10-cent beer night be, like $1? I got a great story in a second. Remind me of it. Harry Johnson, hadn't seen you in a while. Harry, it is great to see you. I got this pitcher night story that we used to go to, and I still can't believe it. Anyway, we'll do it in just a second. Got to get through this first. I want to say good morning to everybody. Fozzie, it's good to see you, man. I haven't seen you for a while. It is great to see you. I understand. Pine Needle, good morning. Daniel, hello. All right. Real quick before we get to everything, because there is so much to get to, and I got a deadline today because I want to be out of here in about an hour and a half because I want to get a quick break before I go on with Damon at 11 o'clock. But so when we were going to college, and this is why it took me so long, and the grades were not so great, and we had different places that we would go for different nights. So, it was like, study night. I never took early classes. Monday was a certain thing. Tuesday was a place called The Factory. It was a pizza place. Friday at 3:00, they had a free beer keg and this thing. But anyway, I think I'm out of college, or I am out of college, and I am thinking I'm going to be a mature adult. And right down the street from my house, like 2 blocks away, is this bar, and they did penny pitcher night. Now, look, all they did was just hurry up and throw a pitcher, those little plastic pitchers that maybe have 2 beers, but so what? And they put a bunch of foam in them. So for every pitcher you got, maybe you got a beer and a half, but we didn't care. And so we would drink. The point was there was a certain amount of time or a certain amount of kegs. I think it was like 2 kegs or something. So, I mean, me and my buddies, given you're right out of college, so you're still eating top ramen and macaroni and cheese. We would suck those beers down so fast, just straight out of the pitcher. We wouldn't even pour them into glasses because the quicker you could get the pitchers back up there, the more beer you could drink. So this was like on a Tuesday night. And so Wednesday was like no production day, right? And I started out as a writer right out of school. So it was like, I'm making nothing. And they're basically, you've just got to do everything. You're shooting everything. You're writing everything. It's not so like social media today, but still, you got a job to do. You got a lot of things to do. And I'm covering every sport you could possibly cover and just like go here for no money. And every Wednesday, I'm so hungover. Usually, people are like, I'll go on a Thursday, hungover Friday. I can stumble through a day. It's fine. But we do these penny pitchers on Tuesday nights right by our house. And finally, after we did about 6 months of that every Tuesday. And I finally just went, even I think I was 22 at the time, 21, 22, whatever, 23 maybe. College took a minute. But I was like, no more. And they're like, what do you mean no more? I'm like, I can't keep doing this. Like my liver is like, stop. It's like, no, like every Wednesday I'm hungover and I just can't do it. And so anyway, there was the story of the penny pitcher. Why was I telling that story? I don't even know anymore. I really don't. All right. Camilo Doval blows the game last night. And it's so unfortunate because it's almost like we have to do this every single day. And at John Lund Radio on X, I'm sending this out after every single game, but just like the night before in which Logan Webb was even better, he went 8 and gave up nothing. Landon ROUPP has been great in May. As you can see there, you can read, but I'll read it for you. 6 1/3, 4 hits, 2 bases on ball, 5 strikeouts, and guy deserves better. Best pitching staff in baseball, best pitching staff in May, and Landon ROUPP is like, cool. I'm keeping my job here. And it's getting to the point where Logan Webb is awesome, all-star caliber. Robbie Ray was pitcher of the month in May, all-star caliber. I think Hayden Birdsong is going to be a star. And if they just leave him alone and don't jerk him around, I think he's going to be a great number 3. Landon ROUPP is making a case to actually be the 4, and maybe Justin Verlander, who apparently had a really nice throwing session, 5. Kyle Harrison doesn't deserve to be kicked out of the rotation. Hell, they might have a 6-man rotation. I don't know. But they've got a lot of pitching depth, and we'll see what Buster does around the deadline if some of that pitching depth is gone for hitting. And we'll get to Bryce Eldridge in just a second because that's the huge story of the day. But if you missed the game last night, it's not really difficult. There's not very many highlights. In fact, there's one, and here it is.
Struck well to center field. Merrill back. Merrill looking up. Out of here. And the Giants are on the board. It's 2-0.
And that takes a lot of pressure off the Giants offense.
All right. The reason I stopped it there, and thanks to NBC Sports Bay Area for that, the reason I stopped it there is you would think that. And in the third inning, I thought that. But let me be honest with me, okay? Be honest with me for a second, because the same thing I was thinking is the same thing you were thinking at that point. I wasn't thinking, woohoo, finally, the offense is going to break out. The offense is, there we go. This is just going to break the dam, and this offense is going to be great. That's not what you were thinking. That's not what I was thinking. What we were both thinking together, because we've been together so long that we have this telepathic nature about us, is that's it. When he hit that home run and he crossed home plate, here, I'll let it finish. There. Hit the plate, touch it, touch the plate. He kind of didn't let it run long enough. When he touched the plate, I thought, is that going to be enough to win the game? Are those 2 runs going to be enough to win the game? Because like I said, 4 runs is the key number for the Giants. So as Mike Krukow said, that takes pressure off the offense. Right when he said that, I went, no. As much as I respect and like Mike Krukow, and he's been great to me over the years, no, that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking they got to get more. I was thinking, okay, there's no relaxation in that dugout, and there's no real pressure off anybody, because the only guy who can hit in this lineup right now is Elliot Ramos. And later on in the game, there were opportunities, the 9th inning being one, when the Padres scored their runner with 2 out. They got a hit from Jake Cronenworth, and with 2 out and Jung-Hoo Lee at the plate, the Giants didn't. And they didn't with Ramos the time before that. And Ramos hit into a double play before that. And, they had the right bats up at the right time, but there's really only one consistent bat, actually 2. There's 2 consistent bats in the lineup, and that's Ramos and Flores. Mike Yastrzemski, honestly, I've got my hands together. I'm praying because I don't want to say anything bad about the guy because, again, great guy. I've talked to him a million times in the dugout. He's a super guy. He's exactly what you'd think he'd be. He's a baseball lifer. He's a junkie for baseball. He's a fucking 4th outfielder. I'm sorry, but I've had it. I've had it, man. And Mike Yastrzemski is the type of guy that tells you where your organization is. The fact that he's been able to maintain his position in right field for the Giants for as long as he has. Basically, he had a great first year, maybe great couple of years. I'm not looking at his number. And then it's just kind of been this roller coaster ride of Mike Yastrzemski. And he started out hot, and he was one of the positive bats, but you knew what was going to happen. He was going to hit a wall. What is he, 3 for his last 44, whatever the hell it is, and having bad at bats again? And it's not his fault. It's our fault. It's the front office's fault. It's not my fault, not your fault. But we got expectations. We're like, maybe this guy can hit. He is what he is. What is he now, 33, 34, wwhatever the hell he is? Like, he's not changing. We think he's young because he came over here late. He came over, he was like 30. Like, I don't dislike Mike Yastrzemski, and he's a great guy. I don't want to rip the guy, but he's a fourth outfielder. He's a really good defensive right fielder. He can play any of the outfield spots. He's very capable in center field. He's Gold Glove in right. I like the guy, but it's kind of like Patrick Bailey. How many of those guys can you have? Okay, you're going to have Patrick Bailey in the lineup. It's just going to happen. But okay, first base is atrocious. Second base, there's no power from Tyler Fitzgerald. Where to go? Willie Adames, we've talked about. Chapman is Chapman. Ramos is good. Lee is falling off. He had a great start. He's falling off. He's okay. He's above average defensively, but that's kind of what they have. And now Mike Yastrzemski becomes this hole in right field. So the whole right side, right field, first base, catcher down that whole line, you get nothing from these guys right now. So that's why the offense is struggling, because the Giants thought, well, we're going to just put the same guy out there in right field, and he's going to be the same. He's a fourth outfielder, man. Like late in spring, when the Cubs made the Kyle Tucker trade, and I guess the Giants were in on that, but when the Cubs made the Kyle Tucker trade, and by the way, the Cubs and the Dodgers are fighting for the best offense in the league, there were rumors that 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿 was possibly available. And that's where having zero pipeline to Japan really hurts the Giants. They have the proximity. We have the population. We have all these positive things in which the Giants should have. I'm not on the Giants. That the Giants should have this great pipeline to Japan, and a guy like 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐿 would want to play here. He'd be comfortable here. And the guy's having a hell of a year. If he's not leading the National League in RBIs, he's damn close. So anyway, and he's a right fielder now. He's a DH for the Cubs, but he's not a bad outfielder. So that's what I'm saying is like, I like Buster Posey, and I'm not ripping Buster Posey for this. This is his first year on the job, so we'll see what he can do at the deadline. I'm going to get into Bryce Eldridge, like I said, in a second. But they went into the season knowing this, that Mike Yastrzemski's a fourth outfielder, and he can be very streaky, and he can at times be really, really good. And he's had some big hits as a Giant. There's no doubt. He's a fourth outfielder, and they knew it, and they stayed with it. They knew Lamont Wade Jr. Now, they didn't think he was going to hit 167, but they knew that was a traditional power position, and he wasn't going to do it. And they knew that Bryce Eldridge wasn't quite ready. He's 20. We'll get into it in a second. So there was this gap, and it was like, we're cool with Lamont Wade. We're cool with Mike Yastrzemski. Tyler Fitzgerald showed enough. If, remember all those ifs I told you about before the season? If this, if that. Okay, of the ifs, and Willie Adames wasn't supposed to be an if, Patrick Bailey's offense hasn't come around. Obviously, Lamont Wade Jr. is atrocious. Tyler Fitzgerald has somehow lost his power. Ramos is the only if offensively that has come through for the Giants. I didn't even make Wilmer Flores an if. I thought he was done. So give Wilmer Flores a ton of credit. But I keep saying this is a broken record every single day. The pitching is too good to have the hitting be this bad. And Buster Posey said with the media yesterday, and it was just the written media, so there's no video of it, which is weird because if you're in the written media, you should still be doing video, but whatever. Maybe he said no video, but he essentially said that, it's too early to trade. No, it's not. It's not. But the thing he doesn't want to do is he doesn't want to screw up and have a Zach Wheeler situation in which he trades away a great young arm for a questionable bat. And like I said, there's only 6 teams at this point that are out of it. We went through it yesterday, teams like the Marlins and the White Sox and and obviously the Rockies and so forth. And I went through the rosters, and basically there's the Ryan Mountcastles of the world. And Buster Posey, and I get it, doesn't want to give up Kyle Harrison for Ryan Mountcastle. Totally understand that. Which leads us into, and by the way, DUVAL last night, did I play Bob Melvin? Here's, let me play a little Bob Melvin. This is Bob Melvin's thoughts on Camilo DUVAL.
The couple walks. So, look, we feel great every time he's in the game, and he's had quite a run. We shut them down for 8 innings. They score 2 in the ninth. Ball off the end of the bat. It's a hit, but a good at bat by Manny. So it's the walks, I think, that got him the most.
And that's Camilo Doval. And for as good as he can be, even at his best, he can fall in love with the slider. He can get wild. He can, he's a torture kind of a relief pitcher. He's a torture kind of a closer. And that's just how he's going to be. And he's always been that way. And it drives you crazy because just from the layman's eye, you go, this guy can throw 102 and elevate the fastball and nobody can catch it. Mariano Rivera threw one pitch. And I'm not saying you can just throw fastballs, mix the slider in. But to me, when I watch Doval, I see him fall in love with the slider so much when he's got 102 in his pocket. And if he just elevates it with that whippy arm, I think he's pretty much impossible to hit. But he seems to fall in love with that slider. Hey, it is what it is. They've got pitching coaches. They've got people. They know better than I do. But he drives you crazy. But from a standpoint of what am I worried about right now, I'm not really worried about the bullpen. Maybe I need to be later. Doval, it happens. You're not going to close every game. Let's not be unrealistic. That was a bad one, though. They needed it. They only scored 2, but they just needed a win last night. They just okay, fine. Ramos gets us a 2-run shot. We don't score the rest of the night. Landon Roop's a young pitcher. We get him a win. All right, let's go back out there again. This is a 4-game series against the Padres. By the way, I'm going to go to tomorrow's game and screw around down there, talk to some players and everything else. But look, I'm not here to be worried about what the bullpen is doing. They've been the best part of the Giants, and they had an off night. And Doval is a roller coaster ride. It's just what he is, even when he gets it done. So that's what it is. But it's back to the offense. It's back to what are they going to do, and that leads us to the chalkboard, which is when Bryce. So let me get a couple of things up here for you. First of all, this is out of Alex Pavlovich's piece. I've got so much on the board today, but it's because there's so much. Oh, here's Alex Pavlovich. A little bit of what Buster Posey said yesterday to the media. He says, this is what Buster said. We most definitely want to put him, Bryce Eldridge, in a position to be successful. But yeah, ultimately the goal is to win games at the big league level. Bryce Eldridge is back at AAA, wins a promotion, blah, 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 blah. Okay, the reason why I wanted to put that on the board is what Buster Posey is saying here is we're desperate. We're not going to trade early because believe me, he's made the calls. Everybody knows that of all the positions offensively in baseball, the Giants' first base is probably the biggest need in all of baseball. The Giants needing a first baseman, the biggest need in all of baseball. So you're telling me that it's not even Buster who's had to make the calls or the text or whatever. It's other teams trying to rip them off. Hey, you know what? We'll give you Ryan Mountcastle for Kyle Harrison. I don't know if the A's are calling going, hey, we'll give you. The A's are just falling into an abyss. And if you could combine the Giants and the A's, that would be great. The Giants pitching, the A's hitting. A guy like Brent Rooker, he just signed a $66 million contract. That's not a bad one. Obviously, it's not a huge one because that's not what the A's do, but the A's did uncharacteristically give out some contracts this past summer. But Brent Rooker in right field instead of Mike Yastrzemski, what you'd probably have Ramos go to right field and Rooker go to left field. And while Rooker is, by his standards, not maybe having the year he had last year, he's still having a damn good year. He would definitely be hitting in the middle of the Giants order. But if I'm the A's, it does match up from an A's perspective. The fact that they're in Sacramento, would they make a trade now? It's still forced. It's still, it's Buster. So maybe there's a different dynamic. But the A's have some sticks. I know Andujar's down, but he could, he's an outfielder. He could play left, move Ramos to right. He's not a bad hitter. You remember with the Yankees, hit a bunch of home runs. I would concentrate on Rooker. Rooker could play left field and Ramos could play right field. But the A's are going to go, okay, which of these young pitchers do we want? Birdsong, I'm saying absolutely not. I don't know enough about 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐿, but it depends on what the Giants think. They seem to have a bunch of other pitchers behind that. I would absolutely call the A's and say, what do you got? You're going to get ripped off at this point. I understand that. It's far too early. So what the Bryce Eldridge, and I can get this off the board now, but what he's saying, let me just go back to that. We most definitely want to put him in a position to succeed. So what he's saying there is, yeah, we don't want to rush him. So we want to put him in the position to succeed, which means we don't want to rush him. But yeah, ultimately the goal is to win games in the big league level. So he's saying it out of both sides of his mouth. Yeah, we don't really want to rush him, but you know what? We got to figure something out at first base. That's what he said. We don't want to rush him, but we got to figure out first base. And figuring out first base is more important than potentially rushing him. And that's what teams do now. Kansas City, their top prospect who was drafted last year out of Florida in the, what was it, top 5 pick? I think he was 4th. He's already up in the big leagues. We see it all the time. Guys get rushed all the time because the point is we got to win big league games. And if you lose your confidence because we brought you up too early, then that's on you. Teams used to protect that like hell. Like, oh, he can't lose his confidence. He can't lose his confidence. Well, anymore, sorry, man. No more Lamont Wade Jr. We're trying Casey Schmidt, who got a hit last night. But, it had one nice dig out on a Willie Adames play, had another one where he probably should have had it but didn't. But the guy's learning on the fly at first base because they got nothing. 𝐿𝐻𝐿 is not a first baseman. He's a DH, and then you'd move Wilmer to first. But again, you don't want Wilmer out of his element. Like, he's hitting well as the DH. Like, don't want to screw with that. So while Buster will downplay this as far as Bryce Eldridge is concerned, they're not bringing him up to AAA because, that's the natural progression of things. No. They're taking it. They're bringing him up to Sacramento because he's coming up. He's coming to San Francisco sooner rather than later. I guarantee you that. If they continue to struggle at first base, which why wouldn't they? So essentially, what has happened here is Buster's gotten the calls. He hasn't even had to make the calls. Other teams are like blood in the water. They're sharks. We can steal some good young pitching for the Giants. Right? And so that's what they're doing. And they're calling Buster going, how about Harrison? How about Birdsong? How about 𝐬𝐻𝐿𝐫𝐷? How about this guy? And he's got flashes in his head of Zach Wheeler going, no. And so what they're going to do, and I've told you this before, is they're going to exhaust every single option. That probably means Luciano gets a chance at first. Bryce Eldridge gets a chance at first. My concern now becomes, can you stay in this wild card race? Because with this offense, you cannot, clearly. The pitching is phenomenal. The hitting is awful. They are literally on the opposite ends of the spectrum. Best pitching right now, worst hitting, worst offense. And we're used to this around here, the ballpark this, the ballpark that. But if you look at like Willie Adames splits, for example, he's terrible. He's worse on the road. He's bad everywhere. He's worse on the road. So this whole thing about, he's pressing because of the park. Well, it's not what the numbers say. He's playing bad everywhere, but he's playing worse on the road. So I don't know how that works. But now we're getting to the point where it's like, okay, first base, you can't find one. Can you find an outfielder? I mean, there's a gazillion outfielders. Is there anybody in the system? Is the organizational depth so pathetic that then there's not an outfielder either? Like, there's no one? And I know they put 𝐿𝐻𝐿𝐫𝐷 in right field. And he made a nice catch that 𝐮𝐬𝐜 Lee should have probably got. But anyway, it turned into a great catch by 𝐿𝐻𝐿𝐫𝐷 last night. But I don't think he's the answer. He's big and he looks like a lumberjack, and he can swing it and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know. We'll see. I mean, maybe he can surprise us. But if I'm the Giants, I'm scouring outfielders now. I'm looking at first baseman now. The Orioles are out of it. They've got some guys. The Marlins are out of it. They've got some guys. The A's are out of it. They've got, as I mentioned, Rooker or Andujar. There's guys out there. It's just the price is prohibitive. It is a seller's market until the end of July. And then those teams who want to move guys, then it maybe becomes a little bit of a buyer's market, but it depends on how desperate you are. But right now, if you think about it like real estate, we are in a seller's market. They're dictating that they're just getting way too much at this point of the season. And that's obvious because we're not at deadline day. So Buster Posey, by bringing Bryce Eldridge to AAA, has said, before we give up a young pitcher that we don't want to give up, which you and I talked about yesterday and the day before, because the offense has sucked for a while, he doesn't want to do that. And I get it. But at some point, I just think it's probably too early for Bryce Eldridge to save this offense. It's way too much of a burden for that. But I think he's going to be here sooner rather than later. If I was a betting man, what's today? And I am a betting man. Today's June 4th. If this continues, I don't know, Bryce Eldridge is probably here by July 1st because the deadline is the 31st. And he's watching this team in the standings go like this. And he's going, okay, Bryce Eldridge, being brought up the right way, the offense continuing to suck. Which is it? And if you give him a spark, then that's it. Because they're going to try everything organizationally. When they exhaust that, then they'll go outside of the organization. But right now, they need a right fielder and a first baseman. They need offense from a right fielder and a first baseman. They cannot continue this. And it's their own fault. Thinking that Lamont Wade Jr. was going to turn into something he's not while waiting for Bryce Eldridge was an error. throwing Mike Yastrzemski out in right field again when he's a fourth outfielder and a really nice defender and a great guy, but a fourth outfielder nonetheless was their fault. And we talked about this before the season. What if? They had too many. They had too many offensively. And the pitching's not going to blow up yet, but at some point, Landon Roop sitting there last night going, damn. And Logan Webb the night before, damn. And I know Duvall blew it last night. I get it. But nobody's going up to Camilo Duvall or anybody in the bullpen going, damn you guys, because they've saved their ass a ton this year. So anyway. Oh, let me play this for you. This is good. Let's see. Here is Buster. This is Buster Posey before the season. I was going to post this, and then I didn't get around to it, so I'll post it a little bit later today. But here, I'll play it for you here. Here is this is before the season. Buster Posey on Bryce Eldridge.
You know, he's just one of those guys that's just constantly hungry and looking to improve and get better because he's off to a great start. But as he'll see, you know, as time goes on, you know, you've got to have the mindset that you never arrive, no matter what type of year you have, what type of, you know, month that you have. You just have to keep on pushing and hopefully, you know, if he does that, I think he has the skill set to be a really great player.
Ops and goal.
All right, so there you go. There is Buster Posey on Bryce Eldridge. Buster Posey talked about Bryce Eldridge, and just basically the big quote yesterday, I think, was essentially, we want to bring him up the right way. We don't want to rush him up. But on the other hand, it's about winning games. We most definitely want to put him in a position to succeed, which means don't rush him. But yeah, ultimately the goal is to win games at a big league level. So the way this offense sucks, we're going to have to rush him. I mean, that's essentially what that quote is, and that's the best quote. So that's Alex Pavlovich's piece. Please continue to read him. So there we are. That's where we are on episode 157. Duvall blows it last night. I'm not pissed about that. Offensive, one highlight. That was the 2-run homer by Ramos, and Mike Krukow saying, that takes the pressure off the offense. I don't know what you thought, but I thought, well, that's all they're going to get tonight. So let's see if we can hold up. When Bryce, we just talked about that. Buster on Bryce, we just did that. And we're going to move on to the 49ers in just a second because there is Bryce Huff. Speaking of Bryce, but Bryce Huff. There is Bryce Huff stuff to talk about. And I'm not just doing this. Don't tease me like that. Don't tease me and tell me that Lamont Wade Jr. has been DFA'd. Don't tease me like that. Let's see here. Anything else on the Giants? And then I'll move on to because I got something for you. And this isn't just, hey, let's try to find something else. Let's see. Yeah, this Mark situation, we got to get that figured out, man. Because we can't see him. It's so weird, but I'll get it figured out because, like I said, I have a team and they told me that nobody's blocked. So I don't know what's going on there, but we'll figure that out. All right, let me get to Wade has been DFA'd. Are you guys messing with me? Because we might have to have a party. Hold on a minute. I love that you guys are on stuff because I'm just yip-yapping and I'm not staying up on things. On the radio, I used to be, oh my God, you're right. Alex Pavlovich, big roster shakeup. Lamont Wade Jr., Sam Huff DFA'd. Christian Koss opt-in. Dominic Smith was signed. He'll be on the wow. Look at that here. Let me do this because I like Susan Susser. I'm going to requote this real quick. Sorry, I got to get this out, man. One second. Hold on, I got to send something out. All right. I'm glad that you're hanging with me. I just got to do this real fast. And just when I was doing the Wade, I was doing some Wade-o-meter or something like that. Okay. People are going to think I'm an asshole for doing this, but can't help it. All right, Wade DFA. Okay. All right, there you go. No more Lamont Wade Jr. at bats. Thank you very much, Rockin' New Air, and everybody else who was on top of that. So as you point out, there's somebody else who has this. Wade DFA cost optioned and Huff. Yeah, Huff stunk. I mean, just Huff stunk. And I told you this about 2 or 3 days ago. I said, if you're going to have Patrick Bailey as your main catcher, then you got to go find an offensive backup. Oh, Joey Bart. You got to find an offensive backup catcher so that on those certain days you're giving him off. But okay, you're going to sacrifice some defense, but at least you got to get a stick in there. And Sam Huff stinks. I mean, just stinks. I don't know why the Giants have such trouble in getting backup catchers, but they do. And whether it's Tom Murphy getting hurt or whatever. In fact, when was the last good backup catcher they had? Stephen Vogt? Nick Hundley? I mean, my God. Just brutal. So anyway, people are going to be mad that I did that, but I don't care. I'm just not. The Lamont Wade Jr. thing just drove me crazy, and they just waited too long. I mean, let's be honest. They just waited too long. I mean, we're over a third of the way into the season. I'm glad that it happened. I'm not glad for the person. Nobody likes getting fired, and that's essentially what they did. They just fired Lamont Wade Jr., and somebody will pick him up. But here's where I think the Giants dropped the ball on Lamont Wade Jr. Let's just go back, and then I'll get to the Huff stuff. This is where they dropped the ball on Lamont Wade Jr. organizationally, which is, I told you this bruise on the hand that he's got contusion. He goes back to Arizona. That's an injury. That should have happened weeks ago, a month ago. And they just should have said, hey, man, let's bring you back to Arizona. Maybe he said no to it. We're not going to Sacramento. We're going to go to Arizona, and we're going to retool this. We're going to revamp this. We're going to take the pressure off you. We're going to get you in a good headspace because that's, we know sports. You've played it. His head was spinning. Do this, do that. It's almost like, when you go to your golf swing, mine sucks, and there's buddies behind you. Do this, do that, do this, do that, do that, and you got 50 things in your mind, and you're like, and I never slice, and you slice it off into the woods. That's what it's like for him right now. He's probably got 50 different people telling him 50 different things. Go to Arizona. Oh, I got a bad hand bruise. Go to Arizona. Go on the injured list. Go there for a couple of weeks. Chill out a little bit. Hear a different voice. I mean, that's what it is. And they never did that. And so while Lamont Wade Jr. deserves the majority of the blame for his own performance, the Giants are not blameless here because he's sucked all season long and they did nothing. Do it again, do it again, do it again. You're just banging your head against the wall and expecting a different result from this guy? It's not going to happen. I've been telling you that for weeks. Like, it's not going to happen unless you do something drastic. DFA, that's drastic. But if you wanted to keep the guy on the roster, and I know he's out of options, so maybe he just said, no, I'm not going to do that. And we'll find that out. But it should have been like, look, dude, you're killing us here at first base. We're going to have to do something here. So you need to go down and you need to get your head right. And he's like, no, maybe that happened. But Lamont Wade Jr. has been DFA'd. So has Sam Huff. Christian 𝐃 has been optioned. That's the other thing I was thinking about last night. How far has Brent Wisely fallen that Christian 𝐃 was ahead of him in the pecking order? Like, what happened to the organizational depth here? Unbelievable. I mean, I think the other day I was reading something on ESPN that their farm system is 29th. How can that be? How can the Dodgers, who trade every single year and get players and rentals and all this kind of stuff, their farm system is first in baseball. You can bitch and moan and how much they spend and they outspend and they do this and they can have anybody they want. No. Their farm system is number one, their farm system. And the Giants is 29th. Like, what's going on here? What's happening? I'm telling you, the Dodgers have the pipeline. They have a Japanese pipeline. They do great with international players. They draft well. They do all these different things. They outspend everybody. I get it. But organizationally, they're solid. I'm sorry to have to say that, but you want the truth, right? You don't want smoke blown up your ass every single day. That's why you come here. And the reality is they're doing everything right. And he even tried to steal one of their guys in Farhan, and I think he was a double secret agent and screwed up because he was like, we're going to fix the farm system. Okay, well, you left and it's 29th. That's not Buster's fault. It's brutal. Anyway, some of it's on Lamont Wade Jr., but some of it's on the Giants too. They didn't make any type of adjustment with Lamont Wade. Now, behind the scenes, did they? I'm sure they worked with him every single day in the cage. I'm sure they busted their ass with him. But reality is they didn't do enough. And they didn't send him out. And that's what I would have done. I would have said, look, early on in this process, I've been saying this for weeks and weeks and weeks, got to go down, not to Sacramento, not to Richmond, not to San Jose. You're going to go back to Arizona, and we're going to retool this whole thing mentally and physically. And they never did that. Now, maybe he said no. Just saying. All right. So there you go. No more Lamont Wade Jr. No more Lamont Wade Jr. That's a breaking story. Let me give you by the way, if you want your stuff read 100%, questions, comments, thoughts on this show, all you have to do is flip a super. That would be awesome. Thank you very much for supporting the show. Night Lamont. Yeah, not late night Lamont. Night Lamont. Look, I don't want to sound like I'm celebrating someone's demise. Someone will pick him up. Someone will pick him up because he has a little bit of a track record of success. Remember, he came from the Twins. He didn't even play against left-handed pitching. Remember that? He had I think he might have had 16 career at-bats when he came to the Giants against left-handed pitching. So, I mean, look, the guy came a long way. During 2021, much like a lot of those guys that year, just had career years from Crawford to Belt to everybody was like anybody that touched, Giants ground was awesome that year. And Lamont Wade Jr. was that. I mean, Lamont Wade, late night Lamont and all that kind of stuff. It was great. But he just hasn't been the same since, and he can't keep carrying a guy hitting 167. It was ridiculous. And he gets DFA'd. So there you go. Night Lamont. Thank you, Pine Needle. Much appreciated. As always, Lamont Wade Jr. has been optioned. All right. There is so much going on. Let me see. Okay. There's so much going on. And remember, I am with Damon Bruce at 11 o'clock. So make sure you tune in. You can just stay right here because what I'm going to do is we're at 9:47 and I'm not even close. I've got so much stuff to do. So episode 157, DOVAL, offensive offense, when Bryce, Buster on Bryce. And then we just heard that Lamont Wade Jr. has been DFA'd. So we'll see how that goes. And let's move on. I think I've exhausted all of my stuff as far as baseball is concerned. Let me just double check. Yeah. All right, let me do this. We're at the point of the show where it says Huff Explained. By the way, please make sure if you are new, you're watching on X at John Lund Radio. You're watching on Instagram at John Lund Radio, Bay Area Sports Collective on YouTube, and John Lund Unleashed on YouTube or LinkedIn. You're hanging out on LinkedIn today. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel, John Lund Unleashed. Please make sure you hit us with a like. That would be amazing. Please, if you'd hit us with the like, that would be absolutely great. And keep those alerts on because we throw stuff on all throughout the day, including Damon Bruce at 11 o'clock. So I'll jump on Damon's show and we'll talk all about Lamont Wade Jr., I'm sure, and other things at 11 o'clock. So please make sure that you are here. I'm going to hit this Huff thing one more time, but a lot of people are jumping in because of the Lamont Wade Jr. news. So let me just say that one more time. And if you've already heard what I said, I'm sorry. But Lamont Wade Jr. has been DFA'd. Sam Huff has been DFA'd. Christian Koss, we hardly knew ye, has been optioned. We'll see what that means as far as other moves are concerned. It's incredibly overdue on Lamont Wade Jr. I don't know why they were so patient. It's this offense of woes, and I say this all the time. I said it yesterday. Players play, coaches coach. President of baseball operations, Buster Posey, they manage, they oversee, and so it's on the players ultimately. But this offensive, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Ineptitude that the Giants are facing right now with this staff. And I think they've gotten to the point. This is what's obvious about today or the last couple of days now is DFA'd Lamont Wade Jr. Bring in Bryce Huff. Dude, they're starting to do the major moves. Is it too late? That would be my question. We are more than a third of the way into the season. Why were you so patient? Why are you so patient with Lamont Wade Jr.? I don't get it. Like I said, I joked, does he have naked pictures of someone within the organization and he gets to stay? They would never have been this patient with a young player. The Giants haven't been. Luis Matos. Like right now, Mike Yastrzemski is in such a bad funk as he often gets. What I would do is I'd move Ramos to right, and I would just tell Luis Matos, who I think has better offensive upside than Mike Yastrzemski, I'd just say, you're a left fielder, man. You're our left fielder. Don't look over your shoulder because this is what happens with young players and why they lose confidence. You see it with Kuminga all the time with the Warriors. Looks over, screws up, misses defensive assignment, guy cuts behind him or whatever. He looks over, it's Kerr. Am I getting pulled? You can't be an effective player that way. You just tell him, look, dude, you're our left fielder. Go kick ass. Just be our left fielder. You got to find out whether this guy can play or not. Ramos can play right field. He's fine. He's not a center fielder. Mike Yastrzemski is a great right fielder, but right now your desperation for offense, if you're going to stay within the organization, okay, Bryce, to me, if they don't do anything by July 1st and Bryce Eldridge plays well down at Sacramento, doesn't have to knock the cover off the ball, just plays well and looks comfortable, he's going to be the Giants' first baseman by July 1st. I think that you just go, you know what? And look, I've said this. I think Matos might be a 4A player, but I don't know. So put him in left, put Ramos in right. Like, let's go. You're more than a third of the way into the season. The division is already the Dodgers. How are you going to hang in the wild card race? You can't with this offense. And it's embarrassing that this pitching is so good that you're going to waste it. Seattle had the best pitching staff in baseball last year. Where'd they go? Not to the playoffs. You want to be that? I get it. You don't want to lose any of these top-end young guys. No Birdsong, Harrison, 𝐬𝐮𝐬𝐜𝐫𝐢𝐻, ROUPP, these guys. I get it, man. But you have an excess of pitching and you have a lack of hitting. Has it ever been more obvious for a team that, well, last year's Mariners, but has it ever been more obvious that your pitching is so great and your offense is so bad? And I also understand that you're going to exhaust everything within your organization because you don't want another Zach Wheeler situation. I get it. But have they waited too long? They might have. Because you don't wait a third of the season to do nothing with LaMonte Wade Jr. except for bang your head against the ball. So we can all bitch and moan as much as we want. Oh, my God, late night LaMonte. Oh, he sucks, right? But the Giants didn't do anything about it. They just banged their head against the wall and said, he's going to come out of it. He's going to come out of it. He's going to come out of it. No, he's not. He should have been in Arizona. He should have been working on things. You should have had backup plans. You shouldn't have went into a season with LaMonte Wade Jr. as your bet at first base until Bryce Eldridge was ready and Mike Yastrzemski again in right field. Oh, my God, he's going through a 3 for 44 slump. Who could have saw that coming? That's crazy. Woo, woo, woo. Couldn't see that one. Let's just rely on all these guys to do something different than they've always done. What kind of logic is that? I don't know. And again, it's not on Buster, but he's the president of baseball operations. You can't get everything done. I understand that. Maybe they were in on Kyle Tucker conversations. I don't know. Maybe they tried to get Seiya Suzuki. I don't know. But going into the season, you either get something done or you don't. And we went all over on Farhan about this. Sorry, dude, second place, bridesmaid, doesn't work around here. I don't care if you got second place for Ohtani. I don't care if you got second place for this guy or second place for Bryce Harper or second place for Giancarlo Stanton or second place for Aaron Judge. Second place doesn't matter. Almost. The best baseball team of all time is the players the Giants almost got. So nobody gets credit for second. You don't get credit. Oh, we almost got Aaron Judge. You don't get credit for any of that. So while Buster Posey is learning on the job, he knew damn well what Mike Yastrzemski was going to do this year. And he's doing it. And he knew what LaMonte Wade Jr., now not to this level, but he knew that LaMonte Wade Jr. wasn't the answer at first base, but he thought, God, can we just squeeze enough out until Bryce Eldridge gets here? No, you can't. So I don't know if they went after Pete Alonso in the offseason. I don't know if Spencer Torkelson was available, who's kicking ass for Detroit, but had been a disappointment as the number 1 overall pick and was available apparently in the offseason. You know, look, it's all a crystal ball, and in hindsight's 2020. It's really easy for me to sit in my studio and say all these things. It is. But I'm not supposed to be the professional. Those guys are. In that big booth that they knocked a wall out of, they're supposed to be the geniuses. And they thought this offense was enough to support this pitching staff. And it's not. And so now what they're going to do is they're going to get into desperation mode. They're going to fill these spots with somebody. I don't know if anything like that has happened. Let me see. I don't know if anything has happened. I don't know what the thought is here. Let me just real quick. Let's see. I mean, they're going to bring up young players that, Dominic Smith, a 782 OPS and 8 home runs in AAA with the Yankees for opting out of his deal over the weekend. So there you go. He's a former high first-round pick. So that's what they're doing. I mean, they're just, okay, let's just take a swing of the bat. So this is what's happening. So Dominic Smith has been signed as a free agent. He's a former, I think, first-round pick of the Mets. Am I right on that? Outfielder Daniel Johnson, and catcher Andrew Kinzer selected from AAA. Yeah, that's not going to do it. I mean, it's just, let's be honest, that's not going to do it. It's not. It's okay. They're trying to catch lightning in a bottle. What they're trying to do is, okay, Dominic Smith, right? Okay, you're going to play first base. They're just trying to get someone in place before they ultimately have to and have no choice but to bring Bryce Eldridge up. I mean, these are just temporary moves, and they're not going to do anything. He doesn't want to give up the required players pitching, which he has excess of, to get the offensive players, the Brent Rookers, again, those aren't perfect players. And at the deadline, they're still not going to be perfect players, and you could still get burned. And I understand why he doesn't want to lose this pitching, because Buster Posey caught Tim Lincecum and Madison Bumgarner and Matt Cain in one World Series. And he's thinking to himself, this is how we win. Pitching, timely hitting. So they're just trying to get lightning in a bottle with a few of these hitters so they can get some timely hitting. He knows they're not scoring 5, 6, 7, 8 runs a game. He's saying, let's keep it down, but we got to get the 4. We got to get the magic number of 4. And so they're bringing in a bunch of names. He's hoping to get lightning in a bottle. Probably not going to happen, but you know what? Weird things happen where guys get DFA'd and they kind of bounce around to organizations, and all of a sudden Brent Rooker happens. So they're hoping for that. Probably not going to work, but it's the way it is. Oh, look, again, my philosophy: players play, coaches coach, management manages. So everybody's got a chunk of blame here. We played the blame game yesterday. Buster Posey in the front office, but again, Buster the player, Buster the person, love him. But we got to be objective here and say Buster the front office guy. He's the head of everything. It's not Buster, just Buster, and he's learning on the job. But you shouldn't have had Mike Yastrzemski and hoping they could do something else. And you shouldn't have had Lamont Wade Jr. and hoping that he would do something else. Hope. No, that's not it. That's not a strategy. And that's what they did. And so now they're scrambling because they don't want to give up what's required, which I don't blame them, but they don't want to give up what's required. They're between a rock and a hard place because the deadline where everybody gets serious and you can actually get a deal, a fair deal, isn't for another 6 weeks, 7 weeks. And you know who's going to be out of the playoffs by then or out of the playoff chase? The Giants, and they'll be a seller, not a buyer. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not overly encouraged by what I'm seeing. So it's great. Lamont Wade Jr. is gone. No more. Don't have to suffer through his at-bats anymore. But Dominic Smith, let me just look up Dominic Smith real quick. Sorry. I'm going to put this on the screen for you. I know I was going to move on, and I may not be able to get to everything today because in an hour, I'm going to Mets. Told you. Man, am I smart. Just kidding. Here's the deal for Dominic Smith. Let me put this on the board, okay? Give me 1 second. And we will share the screen together and do a little Dominic Smith talk. All right, there it is. Let me go back. Let's talk about Dominic Smith. Oops, sorry, wrong thing. Share the screen. You guys are probably already doing this. You probably already beat me to it, but let's have a little fun, shall we? There is Dominic Smith, Southern California guy. Knew that. First round, 11th overall, 2013. So he's not a young guy. Played with the Mets. Career 2,046 at bats, 246 batting average, 259 RBIs, 717 OPS. Not horrible. It's a little bit below average. Been around a long time. Like I said, I remember him when the Mets first came up. He was their big, great next hope at first base. Never hit more than, 12 home runs in a season, 2023. Not horrible for Washington. So he was with the Mets for a long time where he was drafted in the first round. Got 500 – is that his career high? Got 586 at-bats in 2023, 12 home runs, 46 RBIs. You can see this. 12 home runs, 46 RBIs with a 692 OPS. So, I mean, this is the guy that they're relying on to say, hey, maybe this guy can bridge the gap between, at least he's not Lamont Wade Jr. Played last year with Cincinnati. So, I mean, look, Mets, Washington, Boston, Cincinnati, like everybody's going, oh, this guy's a former first-round pick. There's a reason why he was picked. We had him scouted pretty high. Let's see what he can do. And then, you look at his career, and it's a 246 with a 717 OPS with, 64 home runs in 693 games. Like, it's not great. But that's where they are. I mean, they're at the Dom Smith part of this whole thing is let's go get Dom Smith. He was a first-round pick of the Mets 12 years ago. He was supposed to be something. He was their next great this, that, or the other. Has played with a number of different teams. And the Giants are trying to, take a flyer on him because he's having a decent minor league season. So I'm not excited. I mean, is it better than banging your head against the wall because of Lamont Wade Jr. and, how bad he was? Yeah, absolutely. They need change. But Dominic Smith is probably not going to provide that change. But we'll see. I don't want to be a negative person. I want to be a positive person. So go Dom Smith. All right. There's that. Anybody else? Anyone? Bueller? Want to talk more about Dom Smith? Look, one side of it is Lamont Wade Jr. is gone. No offense to the personal, but it was pathetic watching these at-bats, and it gave me heartburn, and I was drinking heavily because of it. Maybe that was just me. But that's not a terrible thing to have him gone. To replace him with Dom Smith is just, I mean, honestly, it's like putting a blindfold on and swinging at a Camilo Doval fastball or slider. It's probably not going to work. But what they're trying to do is, okay, let's give Dom Smith a month at first base. And Dom Smith, a month at first base, okay, he's not any better. Bryce Eldridge has had a month at Sacramento. He's looked pretty solid. Bryce Eldridge, first base. That's what they're going to do. They're going to give Dom Smith a month. And then they're going to, he's a left-handed hitter. They're going to give Dom Smith a month at first base. If he's not effective, Bryce Eldridge is going to be a Giant by July 1st. That's what's going to happen. Then July 1st, the price goes down every single day. Again, I like to use real estate as a comparison. The longer a house goes on, you start lowering the price. Well, July 31st is the deadline. What spurs actions? Deadlines. But July 1st, you can start really trading. This is too early. I get it. We want Hayden Birdsong. Suck it. Not happening. We want Kyle Harrison. Suck it. Not happening. Although I'll tell you what, for Brent Rooker, you want to give me Rooker to put in left field, and I move Ramos over to right field, and I put Yaz as my fourth outfielder, which is his rightful position. Then if it's Kyle Harrison, I like Kyle Harrison, but he has a 2-pitch mix, and I'm not sure that he's a starter. He was great last Friday. Don't get me wrong, but I like Kyle Harrison. And is there the potential that he could turn into the Zach Wheeler? I guess it could. But right now you're so desperate. And this is what, let me just make sure that I get this point across. This is great pitching. You don't get it very often. I know Camilo Doval blew the save last night, but you don't get pitching like this all the time. And bullpens from year to year fluctuate. Look at Camilo Doval last year. Look at Ryan Walker last year. Randy Rodriguez wasn't dominant like this last year. Maybe next year he goes back to not being this dominant. Bullpens are weird year to year, and you just don't know. So, Robbie Ray's getting older. Can he have this year next year? Like, oh, wait, we'll be okay. We'll fix this offense, and then next year we'll have all this great pitching. That's not guaranteed. You have the pitching now. You have a responsibility as an organization to say, we can't waste this great pitching. We've got to get offense now. And like I said, they may have waited too long, but I understand why they're between a rock and a hard place. You don't want to give up Hayden Birdsong. Neither do I. You don't want to give up Kyle Harrison. Neither do I. But in my world, Kyle Harrison for Rooker and maybe something else wouldn't be the worst thing, because do I really think that Dominic Smith, who was a former first-round pick of the Mets, who's bounced and bounced and bounced and bounced, he got a chance in Washington I put that up at the board a second ago. He got a real chance in Washington in 2023. 586 at-bats, 12 home runs, 46 RBIs, hit 254 with a 692 OPS, 717 OPS career, which is below average. Now, compared to Lamont Wade Jr., that's freaking Barry Bonds, right? A 717 OPS, oh my God. What's Lamont's? Like sub 600 for sure. It was like 540 something, 530, 520. Down, lower. I'm playing the prices right here. 520, 510, 492. It was atrocious. So anything better than that, yeah. But do I think Dom Smith is going to be the answer at first base? He wasn't for the Mets when he was supposed to be as a first-round pick. And they gave him 1, 2, 3, 4. They gave him 6 years. Went to Washington, went to Boston, went to Cincinnati. And there's a picture of him for some reason on Baseball Reference in a Yankees hat. So, I mean, at this point, he's a journeyman. So, yeah, you're blindly throwing a dart against the board because you're that desperate. But to go back to Bryce Eldridge, they didn't just bring him up to AAA so that he could see the capital of California. They brought him up here because he's going to be up here soon. And then they're just bridging the gap with Dominic Smith. And when he shows that he's not able to do it, then we're going to see Bryce. So there you go. That's where they are, trying to keep things within the organization and not lose a pitcher so that they don't have to go through another Zach Wheeler situation. There you go. That's the latest as far as the Giants are concerned. All right. I've been teasing this. And like I said, I'm going to get out of here at about 10:30, 10:45 so I can get ready to go on Damon's show at 11 o'clock. So let's table the Giants for just 1 second. By the way, I want to say this. John Lund Unleashed, thanks for joining us. Please make sure you subscribe on the YouTube channel. Hit us with the like. That would be outstanding. And make sure you have those alerts on, because I'll do a whole separate thing today on Lamont Wade Jr. I'm going to do a little deeper dive into Dominic Smith, all that kind of stuff. In fact, 2023, Franny. I can call Franny. Ask him about Dominic Smith. In fact, I should do it right now. I should text him. Tell him to come on the show. Hang on a second. Let me see if I can do that on the fly. Settings. See. Present. Invite. Let's see if I can invite. Copy that. Hold on a second here. I'm going to try something. I'm going to text Franny and say, what do you know about Dominic Smith? And maybe he'll come on. We're just doing this on the fly. All right. Let's see what we can do here. Hang on 1 second. I apologize because I want to know about this guy. Let's see. Hang on 1 second. Start a new one. Franny. Oh, sorry. There it is. Okay, let's see if that comes around. All right, let's see if that could happen. That could happen. All right, sorry. All right, let's get back to it. Let's see. What did I just do here? I just kind of screwed everything up. All right, because he had his best season in 2023, and Franny was and still is, on the TV team of the Nationals. So I want to ask him what he thinks, and I'm going to text him right now, too, because I'm going to get you some insight here. Hang on 1 second. Why isn't my text coming up? Hang on. Franny. My God, man. I've never had problems with text until now. Dominic Smith. Okay. There you go. All right, let's see if we can get anything out of that. Hit him up with a link and hit him up with a text, and we'll see if we can get anything on Dominic Smith. But I gave you everything. I mean, I don't know. He'll let us know on some insights because he was behind the mic and that everything. All right, we've been saying this forever. So episode 157, it kind of took over a life of its own, but it should in those kind of situations. Lamont Wade Jr. has been DFA'd. Sam Huff, we hardly knew you DFA'd. And Christian 𝐃𝐿. Ooh, watch it. I almost said, yeah. Christian 𝐃𝐿, I don't have to worry about that now, has been optioned. So that's the deal. Dominic Smith, the big name, used to be a first-round pick of the Mets, has come in. They're going to try to bridge that gap between now and when Bryce Eldridge comes up to the Giants, which is not going to be too long from now. All right, I told you that I would get into some other things. So we're at DUVAL offense. When Buster on Bryce. After Buster on Bryce, Wade DFA'd, and now we're to Huff explained. Now, the thing I mean by Huff explained, Bryce Huff, now of the 49ers, and it's official. I'm not being a 49ers aggregator in which I'm trying to come up with something to talk more about Bryce Huff because it's a slow part of the season. That's not what I'm doing. During OTAs yesterday in Philadelphia, Vic Fangio, our old friend, used to be the defensive coordinator of the 49ers, was asked why it didn't work out for Bryce Huff in Philadelphia. This is what Vic Fangio said.
Better. And when he hurt his hand, he tried to play with it a couple weeks. It wasn't going good because he was reluctant to use his hand. And then when they operated on it, he had to play with a big cast on his hand, which basically rendered his hand useless, and then rendered your arm useless because you can't use your hand. That really, had an effect on him. And, we just come out of draft season, and the first thing you see when they put a guy's name up on the board, his hand size, his arm length, well, he lost all that. And in that, while he was out, Nolan got more snaps, J.O.'s got more snaps, and things evolved. But I think he'll do fine in San Francisco.
Let me get me back on the stage. And sorry, I'm texting with someone right now. Tried to get some information on Dom Smith. And again, I'm not overly enamored. And if you're just joining the show, Dominic Smith is now a Giant, the former first-round pick of the Mets back in 2013. He will replace Lamont Wade Jr. He'll probably play a lot of first base. He's a left-handed hitter. 717 career OPS, not great. Was supposed to be the great hope at first base to solve things for the Mets. Was never that. And has 64 career home runs in 693 games of the 717 OPS. Best season was in 2023 when he was with Washington. That's why I'm texting my friend Kevin Franzen. 12 home runs, 46 RBIs that year, but that's only a 692 OPS. But compared to Lamont Wade Jr., who was just DFA'd, sorry, I've got to text some more. And like you said, kids are laughing at me. That's fine. Compared to that, then that's a great thing. But I hadn't heard anybody, even though they're going to take credit for him, and I know certain 49ers aggregators or people who cover the team or whatever, especially in this kind of a forum like YouTube and so forth, they'll say, I knew that. Well, no, I didn't hear anybody say that. So they were like, everybody went back to the Jets tape. I did. I played Jets highlights. I didn't play any Eagles highlights when they acquired Bryce Huff. I played all Jets highlights. I was like, look at him as a Jet. He had 10 sacks. He had 21.8% pressure rate with the Jets. Like everything was Jets. 2023, 10 sacks with Robert Saleh. That's going to be the guy. That's going to be the guy. That's who they're going to get. And so I hadn't heard anybody say, like Vic Fangio just said there. First of all, people are saying it wasn't a fit. It probably wasn't because they didn't ask Bryce Huff. Bryce Huff is a third down edge rusher who goes and gets the quarterback and really is perfect for a wide nine because it's all about speed. And he's fast. He's a speed third down rusher, which I've said this before. His cap number is $7.95 million. They're still going for it. You don't do that for a third down pass rusher. He's not going to be on first and second round down. If he is, then that means either Mikael Williams got hurt or Mikael Williams just ain't ready. And he's only 20 years old, like I've said before, with the least amount of snaps as an edge rusher in the draft last year. So maybe Mikael Williams isn't going to be ready. But the number one thing he could do in college was set an edge. Pass rusher as a pass rusher, TBD, to be determined. But he can set an edge. So he sets an edge on first and second down. Bryce Huff comes in, rushes the passer, edge guy, speed guy coming from the wide nine. He and Bosa meet at the quarterback. Hopefully those big guys give a push in the middle. And that's why Bryce Huff was acquired and is going to get paid. Redid his contract with the Eagles. But I hadn't heard that he had a hand injury. So given that he had a hand injury, then what he said is they had a bunch of young guys, Nolan Smith, who was a guy out of Georgia, because that's what they do. Mikael Williams is from Georgia, but all the Georgia guys on the Eagles, well, Nolan Smith was really good, and they were getting contributions from other people, and they're looking at Bryce Huff going, sorry, bro, when you were out hurt with the hand injury, these guys stepped up, and we don't have a place for you now. So that's exactly what happened. That's what Vic Fangio just said. I never heard anybody say that. So that's good news for Bryce Huff, which is he thinks it's injury related, and Vic Fangio thinks he's going to be good in San Francisco, which is good. And technically, he'll be in Santa Clara. All right, so there is Huff explained. BA weirdness, I'm going to hold that just because we did so much time on the Giants and so much on Lamont Wade Jr. being DFA'd. I'm going to hold that for Damon's show because Damon and I talked about what we were going to talk about, and that was one of the things that he put on the list. So I'm going to wait. So at 11 o'clock, make sure that you are here because I'll stream it as well. And Damon Bruce will obviously stream it on his channel, but we'll talk, and we'll talk about BA a little bit. He's just doing some weird things. And at some point, talent, tolerance, but money's involved here. But it ain't the 49ers way. I know that. Let me play this for you. This is impressive. So, the Warriors take Brandon Podziemski, and he's certainly worth the 20th pick in the draft. When they were saying last year that Brandon Podziemski was untouchable, I was like, whoa. And I still think that. I mean, he's very few, if any, players are untouchable. If you gave me Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, 3 first-round picks, Steph Curry's is a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder, right? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Jalen Williams and a first-round pick. Steph Curry is a member of the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, Steph Curry is not untouchable because if you gave me all that talent from Oklahoma City right now, I'm trading Steph to Oklahoma City. No one is untouchable in sports. They're just not. No one is. I don't care. Who's the best player in all of sports? Just every single sport. I don't know. Pick a quarterback. Probably because it's the most important position in sports. So, I don't know. Patrick Mahomes. I want to say Patrick Mahomes. There's a price for Patrick Mahomes from somebody that Kansas City would actually take. It would be, 10 first-round picks and, whatever. I mean, think about a really, really talented team. Philadelphia. I'll give you Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and Jalen Carter and just keep piling it on. And A.J. Brown and 5 first-round picks. That would probably get you Patrick Mahomes. You get my point? There's no untouchable. So when they called Brandon Podziemski untouchable last year, I'm like, will you stop it? He's not untouchable. But I can see now why they drafted him where they did. They took him 20th. And I was like, who's this guy from Santa Clara? I live in the Bay Area. I never heard of this guy. But he's got a post-career already set. Maybe most NBA players could do this, but I mean, and you get scouting reports, so it's not like he doesn't know. But I mean, this dude should be on TNT, not Draymond Green. Listen to Brandon Podziemski break down the NBA Finals with Kay Adams.
Both offensively and defensively.
Got it.
So I think the Pacers, on any given night, they play 10 guys, I think. And, there's games where all 10 of them score in double figures. And so you don't always necessarily know where the points are coming from with Indiana. And I think that's what OKC is really good at stopping. You know, you look at the Timberwolves, they know the majority of the points are from Randall and Ant. And so they're really good at taking that away and forcing others to beat you, where Indiana's like, we have a pass first point guard and Tyrese, and then a bunch of other guys, Nembhard, Tyrese, Benedict Mathurin, Smith, all guys that can like get buckets at random times of the game. You saw Smith's come back against New York, just him single-handedly, and he's a role player. You know, you put TJ McConnell in, he scores his buckets, so it can come from anywhere with Indiana. And I think that's the thing that's going to be challenging for OKC. But OKC's, you know, they're the best team in the NBA for a reason. And they won 68 games, not by mistake. And, you know, they got the same thing where, you know, the points can come from anywhere on any given night, whether it's, you know, Shea, J-Dub, Caruso can have 20, Isaiah Joe can have 20. Jason Wallace could have 20, so it's like it can come from anywhere, and I think that's what's going to be.
He's better than Kendrick Perkins. He's better than Stephen A. Smith. He's better than, I mean, dude. And that's the kind of thing that it's obviously it's about your talent, but when you can go into a room, I don't care if it's the NFL, the NBA, I'm sure it happens in Major League Baseball, but I'm more familiar with the NBA and the NFL drafts, having covered them, and a guy can impress you like that and talk about it and talk about the team and talk like, he's a basketball junkie. There's no doubt about it. But I mean, he just broke down the NBA finals. You could see Kay Adams' face the whole time. Like, oh my God, seriously? That was awesome. I mean, I saw a story the other day and we haven't gotten to it yet, that Steph Curry may want to get into broadcasting. He doesn't want to get into broadcasting. He's royalty. All right. He's royalty. He's not getting into broadcasting. But even Brandon Podziemski right there, just rattling it off like it was nothing off the top of his head, and knowing exactly how many Oklahoma City won, and going, you know, this is what they do, and this is where they get their scoring, and this is like, shit, they're going, dude, right on. I mean, that's a young guy. He's like, obviously he's a junkie for the game, but obviously he's reading his scouting reports and he knows what the hell's going on. I think 3/4 of the NBA probably couldn't do what he just did. That was impressive, man. That was impressive. Other things to discuss as far as the NBA, and then we'll get back to, I'm gonna flip back to the Giants because that's the big story. But let me get through the chalkboard here, which you do every single day. Tibbs gets fired. Tom Thibodeau gets fired by the Knicks. I don't know if that surprises anybody. Having done radio on the East Coast and the Midwest in places in which sports is everything, it's not optional, it's everything. The Knicks, even though it's erroneous, even though it's not right, even though they're stupid for doing it, James Dolan has owned the Knicks for a long time, and he's chewed up and spit out Larry Brown, Don Nelson, Phil Jackson. He almost did it to Steve Kerr. Can you imagine if Steve Kerr took that Knicks job? He almost did before he took the Warriors job because Phil Jackson was there and he respected Phil so much. Lenny Wilkins. I mean, some of the greatest of all time. Think about that. Think about that list that I just rattled off to you. They've had some of the best coaches of all time with the Knicks. None of them have won a championship. None of them have succeeded. Pat Riley got the closest, and he ended up still getting chewed up and spit out by New York. They have a misguided belief that anything less than a championship is a failure. That's the way that city is. And if you look at the Yankees or how many times the Giants go through coaches, or the Jets go through coaches, or whomever, they just keep firing through them. The Mets go through managers because there's so much pressure there that if you don't win, like if there's progress, like the Knicks, they got to the Eastern Conference Finals. And with that team, to me, even though I think they have a lot of talent, but with that team, it's still flawed. And I think they got about as far as they could go. Now, Tom Thibodeau is a tough guy to be around. He reminds me of Harbaugh a little bit, and it's just basketball. And he rubs players the wrong way. I know they do that poll every single year, and the coach that you least want to play for, and it's always Tom Thibodeau at the top. He's very demanding, and he doesn't seem like he has anything else going on in his life. You know, Greg Popovich's like, I like to drink wine. Don Nelson likes to suck down beers. You know, all these other guys, they have stuff, and it's not just alcohol related. They just have other stuff in their life. It's not that basketball's not important. It's just they got to get away from it. Tom Thibodeau doesn't, and that's a grind. So part of it is the Knicks players and front office and such. There's just he'll get hired by somebody, and then he'll burn out there, and then he'll hire, you'll get fired. He'll go somewhere, burn out there. Like that's just what he does. And so part of it is his personality. Part of it is New York thinks that they deserve a championship in every single sport, every single year. and progress is okay, but it's not what it is here. Like, we have patience. We'll have patience on the West Coast for something. Continuity, if you look at continuity, like what kind of player do you want? What kind of mentality? Like, then you bring in a new guy and you have to start all over again. We want a different kind of a player. We want to play a different kind of a game. Now, it's not as drastic in the NBA. Everybody tries to play the same style, switchable players, non-position players, starting to get size back in the game, but not size so that a guy can go down on the block as a true number five, a true five, as a true center. You want the rim running type of a center. You want the Evan Mobley types, right? That's what you're looking for. See Miles Turner in the NBA finals, that kind of stuff, Chet Holmgren, like that's the bigs that you're looking for nowadays. So it's not exactly, but there's a certain way that everybody kind of wants to play, and that's not always been the case in the NBA. So it's not the philosophical change that, say, if you're an NFL coach and you're like, I want to run this offense, run this defense, we got to bring in our guys, and it takes a while, but they get fired 2 years into it. But it's kind of both ways. It's Tom Thibodeau is a burnout kind of a coach, and New York doesn't think that just progress is good enough because there's so much pressure, and it's like, oh, you didn't win it, you're out. You didn't win it, you're out. I mean, seriously, go look at the Knicks coaches or front office types. Like I said, Pat Riley, Phil Jackson, Larry Brown, Don Nelson, Lenny Wilkins. I mean, some of the best coaches of all time have taken a swing at that job, and none have won a championship. None. I mean, it's just how it is. Pat Riley got close, but Michael Jordan's Bulls denied him every single time. And they've brought in, they've spent money on coaches. They've done all those things. They've tried time and time and time again. I mean, seriously, Steve Kerr dodged a bullet. If Steve Kerr went to New York, he's long gone. Maybe he makes it a couple of years because they just don't care. And Steve's probably too nice for New York anyway. I mean, he can be a red ass, but he's too nice for New York anyway. And so he'd have been out a long time ago. I don't know. He'd probably be back in the broadcast booth. But he goes to the Warriors. I mean, that's the thing. Do I want to go left in life? Do I want to go right? He was going to the Knicks. At the last minute, the Warriors swooped in, and he's like, well, I do live in Del Mar. I do live in Southern California. It'd kind of be nicer to be a little bit closer to home. And, yeah, the Warriors kind of look what Mark Jackson left me here. This ain't bad. And, it's obviously the rest is history. But he was this close to taking the Knicks job. And he'd have just been another, guy in the scrap heap. Steve Kerr, next. So that's what Thibodeau's become. Kevin Durant, I did a short on this. If you go to John Lund Unleashed, you can check this out. Kevin Durant, there's lots of rumors now. San Antonio's the latest this morning, which would not surprise me whatsoever. They have a treasure trove of young players and picks, and they have the number 2 pick in the draft. And if I'm Phoenix, that's who I would target. Houston has been talked about. Obviously, Jalen Green was very disappointing in the playoff series against the Warriors. I could see Jalen Green and first-round picks and maybe Durant going to Houston. I have a weird sneaking suspicion that New York, where Kevin Durant, when he was going to Brooklyn, didn't want any part of New York. Because I'm trying to get into Kevin Durant's mind, which is nearly impossible, but I'll give it a shot. I could see Kevin Durant. Jalen Brunson is a really good player, but he doesn't own New York like Steph Curry owned the Bay Area when he was so great. And Kevin Durant was coming into a championship team. Kevin Durant could look at the Knicks right now going, I could be the piece to put them over the top. Indiana won the East. Jason Tatum's going to be rehabbing an Achilles injury most, if not of all, next season. They're not going to be a factor that way. Cleveland just fell on their face. The East is open. So he looks at it on the Knicks and says, I go to the Knicks, and I'm with Jalen Brunson, and I've got Mikal Bridges and these guys. And essentially what the Suns would be saying is, hey, let's get Karl Anthony Towns to the Valley, and we put him with Devin Booker. They were buddies at Kentucky. Those two are gonna vibe, even though I'm not a big Karl Anthony Towns, but Karl Anthony Towns seems to be the guy who's the scapegoat in New York. So he's with his buddy. Kevin Durant comes to New York, and if they were to win a championship, he would be the toast of the town in New York, in the number 1 media market in the country. He would be hailed a king. That's what he wants. He wants a championship on his terms with his team, does not want to play second banana to a Steph Curry or anybody else, has tried the super team route. Nice try in Brooklyn, James Harden. Nice try in Phoenix. No, didn't have enough depth. So he's sitting there going, it could really end my career in New York. I go to New York, I win a championship. That's considered my team. Jalen Brunson's not a bigger star than me. I ride off into the sunset, and I win a championship with the Knicks, and everybody loves me. Now, again, I'm getting into Kevin Durant's head. Could he go to San Antonio? Sure. Could he go to Houston? Yeah. Somewhere else? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. He's not coming here. Not coming to the Warriors. But I could see him thinking the Knicks could be the key. ending the championship drought there, at least getting to the NBA Finals, and riding off into the sunset with what would be considered his team in the largest media market in the country. Sounds good on paper. It's just that Kevin Durant is probably the most sensitive superstar athlete we've ever seen. And I said this in the short. He attacks people with egg avatars. It's like, dude, he's got 7 followers. Like, why are you worried about that guy? But he fires at him. It's like, dude, I learned a long time ago, like, you're not going to win in that battle. You're just going to look stupid. But okay, do you, Kevin Durant. I'm just saying. Doris Burke is something that I want to bring up very quickly here. You get in trouble when you bring up Doris Burke. Let me bring this up real quick. Here it is right here. Doris Burke, a spot on ESPN lead NBA broadcasting team is, quote, not guaranteed for next season. Andrew Marchand, who does the media work for New York Post, I think. ESPN executives will debate if they feel Burke is better on a 2-person team opposed to a 3-person team. I'm not a fan of hers. It has nothing to do with her gender. She is well prepared. She works hard. This isn't a shot at her. This is just a personal thing. That's why I love the guys from TNT. They just have fun. And the ESPN pre-post game shows, and they've gone through so many iterations of it. They don't get it, man. It's sports. It's life's toy box. Stop being so fucking serious. Like, this is not a war. This is not politics. Have fun, man. Laugh a little. Genuine laughing. Have fun. Don't get so angry. You know, that's just what it is. Just have some fun. Just relax. It's basketball. It's the NBA Finals. It's important. It's not war, not politics. You know, it's none of those things. Not death. So not life. Just enjoy it. And she just doesn't have any fun. And maybe part of it is, and I will never be able to get into her head this way. Amy G could probably have an awesome conversation again. She joined joined the Bay Area Sports Collective, and she is awesome. But it's like, look, I've got to prove myself every single day to this male dominated profession, and if I slip up, then I'm going to get criticized. And she's right. Women have to be perfect. Men can screw around. Charles Barkley can get names wrong, and so can Shaq and all these other people, and we just laugh and go, whatever. You know, Screaming A. Smith, Kendrick Perkins can go Moody, bad, and people laugh, and he still has a job. People can be inaccurate nowadays. Doesn't matter. Blow a story, whatever. But women, it's like, she doesn't know. She didn't play. So, I mean, I get it. I get that Doris Burke is like, I have to do this every single day, but she's so damn serious all the time. Why so serious? Just relax, man. Just have fun. Crack some jokes, all those kind of things. And when she does try to have fun and joke, it's awkward. So anyway, that's another thing they have to improve. Like, all right, Inside the NBA is coming there. That's a massive upgrade. And it sounds like they're going to do the same things, the pre, the post, the late night stuff. And they're saying they're not going to touch the show. We'll see. But they're saying that. So that's a massive upgrade. But the broadcast itself, outside of Mike Breen, I'm sorry. I mean, Kevin Harlan and Reggie Miller are better. Like, maybe you don't care about broadcast teams. I love Mike Breen, Jeff Van Gundy, Mark Jackson. Say what you want about Mark Jackson as the Warriors coach. That was a great broadcast team. It was a great broadcast team. We talk about chemistry all the time. And you know this, personal relationships, you either have chemistry, girlfriend, wife, significant other, boss, friends. It's, there's just a spark there. You know what it is. You can't even really describe it a lot of times. And they had it. And what is it? Richard Jefferson, I think. Is Richard Jefferson there? And I don't care if it was J.J. Redick before. It just didn't work. It doesn't work. And for some reason, ESPN got cheap on that whole thing. And I guess, whatever. But they need new blood on the ESPN broadcast team. And it's nothing against her and her work ethic or her knowledge or anything. She's top notch in that way. I just like people to have a little bit of fun. We're talking about sports. Let's have some fun. Everyone busts their ass all day. They sit on the couch and they want to watch the NBA Finals, and they don't want, it to be broken down like it's a war or something. Like, let's relax. Speaking of, Screaming A is taking over and we're just in his world. I've told you a million times, I don't get it. I don't watch it. I don't listen to it. I do respect him for getting the type of money he's getting for basically having his opinion bought and paid for every single day and putting on an act. But you know what? He's a great actor. And I got to give him a ton of credit for the way that he has elevated his career. I've told you this a million times. 20 years ago, I was working, or more, I was working for the Blazers radio network, and if they were playing Philadelphia, you could call Screaming A on the phone with a phone number that he picked up and say, hey, man, the Sixers are in town. Can I do 5 minutes with you? And he'd go, yeah, no problem. And he wasn't screaming and yelling or anything like that. I mean, he was energetic, but he wasn't like he is now. And he's just turned into this totally different person, and he gets paid a ton of money to do it. So respect, absolute respect. Doesn't mean you have to watch it. It doesn't mean my ears don't bleed when I hear it. It doesn't mean that I don't scratch my head and go, how in the hell? But it is. He's been very successful, and you got to give him credit for that. But SiriusXM putting this out today. Stephen A. Smith brings his signature style and unmatched commentary to SiriusXM with 2 new shows on sports and news entertainment. Multi-year deal makes Sirius Smith's exclusive audio home. He's doing like 98 different things, which makes it so that here's the problem with him too. And if they're going to put him on NFL coverage, what they've talked about, he's spread so thin that he knows nothing about nothing anymore. And what he's doing is, and I've worked with guys like this in the past, they yell louder than you and in a more convincing fashion than you and use bigger words and all that kind of stuff. So people, because we have a sheep society, we have a sheep society. And so if you speak louder and with more authority, then people believe what you're saying. Not going to mention anything about politics, but it's more about bluster than actual bluster and belief, I say, bluster and belief than it is about actually the content. It's all about how it's presented. And so for Screaming A. Smith, that's the way he presents it. Now, he's not even informed when it comes to sports, and now he's going to do news entertainment, which tells me it's not going to be news entertainment. It's going to turn into politics, and he's going to be our president. I'm just telling you. I'm not excited about him. I'm just telling you. He's taking over the world. All right, what do we got? 10:32. Half hour until Damon Bruce and I get together and chop it up. Make sure that you're either on my channel or his, John Lund Unleashed and Damon Bruce Show. We'll do that at 11 o'clock. So can I do 2 more things for you? I got a great Caboose pistol for you today. Do not go anywhere. All right, before I go on to the sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistol, 2 things that I want to take care of before we go any further, and then we'll do a Caboose, and we're going to swing back to the Giants really quickly because I want to make sure that I hit the Giants. But I want to tell you about my good friend, Dr. Jeffrey Riopel. You see that pair of legs right there next to the Bay Area Sports Collective on your screen? So you got the Bay Area Sports Collective logo. You got a pair of legs there. You got my QR code. You got Ken Eldridge Save the Giants offense. Well, somebody's been DFA'd today, which I'll tell you about in a minute if you just got here. But real quick, I want to tell you about those legs. That's right. Click that QR code right there if you're in the Bay Area, and especially if you're in the East Bay. But I'm telling you, it's worth the drive. My wife, she's going tomorrow, actually. I didn't know this, but she's going tomorrow to Dr. Jeffrey Riopel, our favorite place. And she's had the stem cell done on her shoulder and elbow. She doesn't have to ice anymore. She feels great. Every time we go on a vacation or out, like this last weekend, we were in Arizona for business. And she was like, I can walk around. We were walking around shopping and stuff outside. It's like, Dr. Riopel, it's because of the stem cell. And she's done it in the foot, the elbow, the shoulder. She's never felt better. I'm not lying. She's never felt better. She's not having to ice at all. Not just a little, at all. That freezer that's in our garage that we put all these contraptions and ice packs and everything on, she doesn't even use them anymore. And so she's going back for more. He is absolutely a wizard. He's one of the first in California to do stem cell. So if you've got pain, no matter where it is, just click on that QR code right there, and he's going to help you out. And if you tell him I sent you over, it's even better. He'll take care of you. That is Dr. Jeffrey Riopel. If you can't click on that QR code, it's Riopel, RIOPELLE, Dr. Jeffrey Riopel. So look it up, your favorite search engine, Google it. And he does all sorts of other things, not just those kind of procedures. I do low T with him. So low testosterone, if you've ever experienced it, you're cranky, you're gaining weight, your metabolism slowing down, all those things that deal with getting older. Isn't that fun? I've been doing low T for years, but I was having to get shots every single week, and that's tiring and tedious. And so what he does is you do a blood test. He's like, okay, you need that much more. We're not going Barry Bonds out of the world here. I don't need to be 22 years old. What he's just doing is he's just getting me up to where I need to be, and I've never felt better. So look, you can believe me or not, but it's 100% the truth on both of those things. Whether it's stem cell, whether it's low T, Dr. Jeffrey Riopel, that is the guy. So one more time, click it, make an appointment. That'll just take you to the website. You can see all the procedures that he does, men, women, all these different great things that he does. And if you don't click that QR code, I understand. Maybe you're a little slow on the draw. All you got to do is check it out. Dr. Jeffrey Riopel in San Ramon. RIOPELLE. All sorts of great procedures. And please tell him that I sent you over so that he knows that you came over from the show, and he'll make sure that he takes care of you. All right, it is time for your sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistol. Then we'll double back on the Giants before I've got to jump and talk to Damon, which I'm looking forward to, talking to Damon Bruce today at 11 o'clock, and we'll broadcast it on both channels. So you don't have to do I got to go somewhere? You can stay right here, and I will post it right afterwards. I will make sure that we post it, and so that you can just jump back into that room. It won't be in this room, but it will be in a room, and we will make sure that we get you in there. Let me play the sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistol right now.
John Lund Unleashed presents the Caboose pistol.
Wedged in the crack of her buttocks.
Somehow, someway, Lundo thinks this is the best way to leave a final impression on you for the day.
The old Caboose pistol, everybody has one.
Did you say Caboose?
I know some women who could hide a machine gun in there.
Yeah.
Leave me out of this, you weirdo. Here's John.
Oh, real quick. Here's Brandon's scouting report on Dom Smith. I'm going to hold it because we're going to get into Montway Jr. to end the show. We usually caboose it, but I just got a text back. Can't jump on, but he's giving me a scouting report. All right. So if you're new to the show, welcome. If you're watching on X at John Lund Radio, may I invite you over to John Lund Unleashed on YouTube and to subscribe. Hit the like button and put those alerts on. But it would be nice if you subscribed on John Lund Unleashed if you're watching on Instagram or X. Also, the Bay Area Sports Collective. That is my show, Tom Tolbert. Tonight, Night Flight for Polymac and Creative Tony. That is Polymax Particles. Amy G. Did I say Tom Tolbert? I did. Jeremy Affelt, Rod Brooks. So lots of great shows, the Bay Area Sports Collective. So make sure you are subscribed to those things. I do love that you're watching on X and Instagram. But if you're new here, welcome. But so yesterday, I gave you 2 Caboose pistols. I'm trying to think of the one. Oh, the one was the motorcycle guy who ran over the alligator and went flying. Played that for you. Is the alligator okay? That's what I cared about. So we played that video for you yesterday. And what I try to do is if I find a great story for the Caboose pistol, which is what we end the show with, what I try to do is I try to find that news story. Well, yesterday I could not find the news story, and it was kind of a local story. It was British Airways, and there was a flight attendant on there, guy, and he apparently was all coked up and drunk, and they found him naked dancing around to music in a lavatory, which those are disgusting, by the way. In a lavatory, I do everything I can to not go into a lavatory. It could be like a 6-hour flight. I'm just like, not going. They're worse than an outhouse to me. They got tons of germs. But anyway, that's besides the point. So anyway, they catch this guy. He's messed up. They strap him basically down to a seat. He passes out. There's like 4 hours left in the 12-hour flight, and he has to sit there for like 4 hours sobering up. So anyway, finally, like a day later, Bay Area news stations caught up to it. Here's Fox 2 in the Bay Area with the story that I told you about yesterday.
Flight from SFO to London was arrested after he was found dancing naked inside one of the plane's restrooms. This took place on a British Airways flight last week. Police reports say the flight attendant vanished during in-flight meal service. He was eventually found in a business class bathroom. Staff had to dress and restrain the flight attendant for the rest of the 10-hour flight. When the plane landed, he was taken into custody. Police are still investigating what led up to the incident.
I just love that they have to do that. They probably hate it. They're probably drawing straws. Whoever gets the short straws to read the story. We do some more time. Just when she talks about the naked part and how uncomfortable she sounds.
A flight attendant on a flight from SFO to London was arrested after he was found dancing naked in.
When he was found dancing naked, she's just like, the voice inflection. When he was found dancing naked, it's like, yep. That's great. Thank you for that. See, because I just think a lot of times the story's a great story, funny story, very Caboose worthy. It's just when the news story, when the news anchor is very professional, there's a war going on right now and politics, blah, 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 and and there's a robbery and there's a murder. And then all of a sudden they got to go to, and there's a naked guy in a plane. It's just, I love it because they're so professional. And then they're like, I especially like it when they show their face while they're telling the story, and sometimes they'll break into laughter and things like that. But anyway, she did a fine job.
Planes restrooms. This took place on a British Airways flight last week.
She was very professional about it. Good for her. So very nice job, and that is your sweet, clean, family-friendly Caboose pistol. All right, I'm going to jump on with Damon Bruce. I'm going to just do this a couple more minutes. And again, if you just joined the show, thank you so much. You should know that, and again, people had my back on this whole thing, so thanks to the fine, sweet, clean community that we have here with John Lund Unleashed. Lamont Wade Jr. has been DFA'd. Sam Huff, we hardly knew ye, has been DFA'd. Christian Koss has been optioned, I guess is what they say. We know Bryce Eldridge is going to be in AAA. Dominic Smith is the big story. Well, I can't guess it is. 2013 first-round pick for the Mets. They thought he was going to be their next great first baseman. He has been in, let me just reset this. He's been in the league 8 years, a WAR of 0.8 in that time, 693 games, 64 home runs, a 717 OPS. His best season, and this is why I texted Kevin Franzen during the show, was with Washington in 2023. 12 home runs, 46 RBIs with a 692 OPS and a 254 batting average. Not great. But what the Giants are telling us here is the price is too high. The price is wrong, bitch. The price is too high at this particular time on June 4th to trade for a first baseman with impact. They all want, we want Birdsong. We want Harrison. We want, 𝐬𝐻𝐫𝐞. And he's going, no, we're not doing that. So they're going to try to, this is what they're going to do. They're going to try to buy a month with Dominic Smith at first base. If he does nothing, which his career suggests that's exactly what he's going to do, then Bryce Eldridge is going to be the first baseman of the Giants by July 1st. Maybe sooner if he shows impact, because teams move players up, prospects up all the time, and the Giants have pulled the fire alarm. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Like Wade is out, Eldridge is up. They're bringing a guy from nowhere to see, who was in the minor leagues, I think with the Yankees, right? He was in the minor leagues and had an opt out on June 1st, and he took it. The Giants are taking a chance here. The guy hasn't shown a hell of a lot after being a first-round pick in 2013. He's bounced from the Mets to Washington to Boston to Cincinnati and now the minor league system with the Yankees. That's it. And so they're going to try to do that. Mike Yastrzemski's struggling. Could they move something there from an outfield perspective? Not right now. If I was the Giants, what I'd do is I'd put Ramos in right, I'd put Matos in left, and tell Luis Matos, you're playing. I guess you're playing. We need to find out if you're a 4A player, if you're a tradable player, if you're an everyday player, what the hell are you? Because we don't know. And he's been jerked around so much that every time he strikes out, he's probably walking back to the dugout going, is that it? Am I going? Am I going to AAA? Am I going back to the bench? Like, he's never had any rhythm as a Giants player. And I don't know if he's a 4A player. I don't know if he's a good player like Giants fans seem to think he is. But I need to know. Because any of the players that they're bringing over because Lamont is gone and because Sam Huff is gone, those are flyers. Those are blindfold dart throws. That's exactly what those are. So anyway, texted Kevin Franzen, who was in the TV booth in 2023 when Dominic Smith was with Washington. He'll give you good at-bats, quality fielder, not tons of impact on the ball. So whatever that means. That's what he said. That's Dominic Smith. So look, I'm not expecting much from what they did. I think they're rearranging deck chairs on the offensive Titanic is what they're doing, but they're trying to buy a month for Bryce Eldridge to get comfortable in Sacramento so that he can move on south down and play for the Giants in a month or maybe 2 weeks. If Dominic Smith is Lamont Wade Jr. too, it might be a week or two. I mean, that's just what it is. And they're going to keep churning. This is churn. They haven't churned like Farhan did, but what they're going to do is they're going to say, okay, we've reached our limit. We're a third plus past. We're losing games. We're losing games because of our offense. Landon Roop was good enough last night. I know DOVAL blew it, but we only got the 2-run homer last night, and this is getting ridiculous. We've got to get in desperation mode. And so what they do, and I told you this, there's a pecking order to doing everything. Within the organization, bring a minor leaguer that doesn't cost you anything, that at one point was a first-round pick, churn through everything, and when that is gone, then break glass, which is Bryce Eldridge. If that doesn't work, and that's July 1st, then you got a couple of more weeks, and then it's like, okay, and by that time you might be out of the wild card chase, but okay, now we're getting close to the deadline. Now I don't have to give up Hayden Birdsong, right? That's what it is. Is okay, we're within a couple of weeks. Right now, it is a seller's market. Seller's market. You know anything about real estate? Seller's market. The closer we get to the 31st, it starts to get even or go to the other side. And what the Giants want is at least even, which is at some point in July, even early July. So there you go. All right, that is the show for a Wednesday edition. Thank you for stopping by. We appreciate it. It's John Lund Unleashed on YouTube. Please make sure that not only do you subscribe to the channel, but you have those alerts on, because we'll put out 3-4 pieces of stuff today. And I'll be on with Damon Bruce in about 15 minutes. We'll discuss a lot of these topics. I'm sure we'll discuss Lamont Wade Jr. and Dominic Smith and all these kind of things. So we'll do that in 15 minutes. So we'll give you a 15-minute break. Go do what you got to do. Hurry up and do a little work so your work thinks you're working. Grab some coffee, some water, some whiskey, whatever it is that does it for you. I'm not judging. And then we'll see you with Damon at 11 o'clock. Please make sure you subscribe, because then you can, because not only will I be in Damon's room, but then I'll post it up here as well, so you can jump into my room, and you can do it either way you want, either in my room or Damon's. And please make sure you subscribe, get those alerts on so you know when we go live with Damon. And what else do we have? Bay Area Sports Collective. And thanks to all for watching today. You were the people, my community, who gave me the Lamont Wade Jr. news. I thought you were kidding, but you were not kidding. Nice job by everybody today. So hopefully we had a great day today. The chalkboard, like I said, the only thing we didn't get to today was BA, but I think BA weirdness on that chalkboard, but I think Damon and I are going to talk about that. So that'll do it for a Wednesday. Talked in about 15 minutes, and that's it. That's it. Thank you so much for joining us on a Wednesday edition of John Lund Unleashed. Remember, for all things Unleashed, just go to johnlundunleashed.com. Please make sure you subscribe. Hit the like button before you get out of here today, and keep those alerts on. We'll see you in about 15 minutes. Have a great rest of your Wednesday.
Thanks for hanging out with John Lund Unleashed. We'll try to be better next time, though I wouldn't hold my breath. Please like and subscribe on the John Lund Unleashed Pod YouTube channel. Watch live shows weekdays at 8 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, and X. And make sure to have your alerts on for shows throughout the day or night. All things Lund can be found at johnlundunleashed.com. johnlundunleashed.com.
Goodbye!